and welcome to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, and we have a returning guest to our program. I'm very excited to, yes, indeed, stand up and cheer for Karen Abrams, and she's going to share with us about a special event in just a moment, but I want to give you that website address so that you can jot it down. You're going to want to. And it is basically thinktheta.com. That's ThinkTheta.com. And welcome back for your third and hopefully not last appearance here on the program.
It's great to be back, Richard. I'm so happy. I'm so happy you invited me. Thank you.
Well, we're going to talk about this throughout the program periodically, but we're going to start out by telling people about a special event that you have coming up. As of this conversation, we're talking about Wednesday, the 29th, if my calendar recollection is correct. You've got something very special for the folks. Yes. I don't want to overstate this, so I'm going to let you tell us about this.
Okay. So this Wednesday, January 29th at 12 p.m. Pacific time, I'm having a free group healing called Your Future Self Now. Inside this, it's a 45-minute on Zoom free group healing. It's going to be very powerful. I'm really actually very excited. I know some people always go, well, I'm so excited about this, but I really am. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like I'm being, what do they say, that a motivation pushes and inspiration pulls. I feel very inspired by this. And these were some ideas that I've been having for a long time about studying. I do a lot of work with abundance with Theta Healing. And just for any of you who don't know what Theta Healing is, it's a technique that you use that helps you connect to your subconscious mind and your inner wisdom at the same time, so that you can shift and change those beliefs that are those pesky beliefs that are limiting you in your life. Like, I'm nothing, I'm worthless, nothing's ever going to turn out for me. Good things happen to everybody else but me, right? Everybody passes me by. Those kinds of things. You can energetically change those and also access trapped emotions in your subconscious mind that have been messing with you for a long time and really riding you into the rails. And we can replace those with unconditional love and understanding and compassion. And so it's really one of the deepest kinds of work that I know of to help you move yourself forward when you feel stuck, when you're, getting in your own way. And so in this specific free group healing, we're focusing on something that I've been studying a long time. Like I said, I do a lot of abundance work. And what comes up all the time is talking about your future self, bringing in the energy of your future self. And so I've done different kinds of exercises within this work, and I always bring in things that work, right? I do Theta Healing. We get in there really deeply. Your subconscious mind is open to these wonderful suggestions per your own permission. There's nothing that happens without your own permission. And you're awake during it. You just feel very relaxed. And so I started studying and looking at, well, how do we get into that future self? We can use our imagination, which really helps a lot. And then we can get deeper in when we go and do that inside that theta state and really get into that, your dream state, your imagination, but really living it into that deep, slow brainwave. This is where your creativity is. This is where you're able to, your mind can talk to your body. You can do all of these different things. What if we met your wealthy self, your healthy self, your self that has, is having incredible relationships, your fulfilled self, and you go into that state and bring that energy from your future that has what you want in it is going to propel you here to go there. And that's the most important thing we need. And so in this, and this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. I'm giving you a taste of what's going to happen, because the following week, February 5th, I'm going to start a 4-week, once a week on Wednesdays for an hour from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific. We're going to dive into it and really get into it for 4 meetings. And you're going to learn to, we're going to go really deep into those aspects of yourself so that you can really start moving in it in the direction that you want to go in. We know right now that things have been pretty rocky around the world
Hmm.
and pretty unpredictable, and there's so much uncertainty. It's kind of the buzzword right now is uncertainty. And but because we earned it. I mean, I just went through the LA fires and they're still not out. But even during that time, or my family had to almost evacuate twice. We've been living out of our suitcases inside of our own home, and we're the lucky ones. We have our home where we're
Yeah.
fine. But when things change on a dime like that, like things just, it was a Tuesday. It started by Wednesday. We almost had to leave. Like we had to pack everything and your important papers and your photos and everything. And so it was really disconcerting and scary. And the thing that actually got me to get my head back on my shoulders and really ground myself out was to go into that future self. I really did this. I was like, when we went, oh my gosh, we got to go because a fire broke out a half a mile away from us. And it was like, oh, we got to go. And so it was like, okay, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? And I connected to that energy of my future self that already went through it and everything's fine. Like, okay, all you need is this, and this. And if you need to look it up, go here, 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 and here. I got everything together. We got it done in like 20 minutes. And we were ready and we were ready to go. And we just kept all that stuff here. And then I remember going, okay, and I could bring that, and I could bring that, and I could bring that. And then we didn't have to go. And like I said, that happened another time to us, but I was ready. But bringing in that energy instead of being in the story of, which was a true story. I've never been through anything like this. I don't even know what to do. What am I supposed
Hmm.
to do? Blah, 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 right? I started that way and I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I went, wait, hold on. And went, foop, and went into that space. And it really made a huge difference. And since then, all this work that I've been doing, practicing these skills that I'm going to be teaching, really, I'm sleeping through the night so much more soundly.
Mm.
I feel so much more inner security than I did before. And I'm getting like, there's opportunities that are coming to me that weren't before when I was kind of stressed out and things were, things didn't feel like
Yeah.
they were going in the right direction.
Hmm.
And so I'm seeing a lot of things turn around and
Mm.
I'm just feeling so much more embodied in myself. I feel like I'm here. And whenever I go away, if something happens, then I can get back.
Yeah.
And so bringing that, kind of marrying these two kinds of skills together with this theta really brings it to that really, really deep level. And I mean, it's funny going through this experience. I feel so much more grateful than I did, and I wasn't not grateful. I wasn't ungrateful. Like
Right.
I felt great. And then it's been a remarkable. These 2 weeks have been a whole lifetime, and
Yeah.
all that work that was getting there to get to this space is really paying off, and it'll only get more the more you practice this stuff, the better and deeper it gets inside of you, and it becomes another coping skill and another way to kind of strap a jetpack on your back when you want to move forward, because you need that energy and you need that action to both be there.
Yeah. Of course, we've had our own fires up here. Certainly nothing, in spite of how horrific the Jesusita and T fires were, and the Thomas fire, followed by the
Yeah.
mudslides. Um, we were never evacuated except once since 2006, as long as we've lived here. We have only been evacuated one time, which
Mm.
was actually quite miraculous. And our home was not threatened. I mean, it was, but when it was all said and done, the fire never got that close to us. It never got any closer than it was when we were evacuated, and it was still a good distance off. And I have to tell you that one of the things that went through my mind was, what if it does come and burn down the rental we're in? Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Now, certainly, I do not want to, I certainly wouldn't want that to happen to the landlords. I have an affinity for them in that, like when we were voting this past election on the the rent control bill or what have you, I just I couldn't see my way clear to voting for it because I have this empathy for the landlords. It's like if you do rent control, then the landlords aren't going to be able to meet their mortgage and their taxes and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm,
And at the same time, sure, I'd love to have my rent lowered. Who wouldn't,
hmm.
or
Yeah.
mortgage or car payment? Who wouldn't want that? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's just something my heart just went out to them. I go, no, I can't. I leave things alone. We have been blessed. We have been utterly blessed. I would say that in the 18 and a half years we've lived here, our rent has only increased by maybe, if my math is correct, by maybe 6 or 8% over the course
Wow.
of 18 and a half years. Now, nobody else can say that, really, I don't
Right.
think.
Yeah. I know.
So anyway, but at the same time, and it was the Whittier fire, and I'll cut this short. What went through my mind as we were traveling down the hill was, what if? And would that be such a bad thing to start over? And that was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. This thought, because many thousands of people in Los Angeles
Yeah.
specifically
Yeah.
are doing that. And the last time, and this is assuming they haven't been through and lost everything once before. The last time I started over was when I was born. That was the
Mhm.
last time for me. And I didn't have anything in the first place. Okay.
Right.
And yet here I am today. Here we
Right.
are today. And so I try to put a spin on it from that standpoint. Again, I don't want to be insensitive to those who have lost their homes and all of their
Yeah.
belongings, and they're literally starting over from square one. Well,
Hmm.
guess what? If you're still breathing and you're still walking and so forth,
Yeah.
and hopefully you're not, suffering from problems associated with the fires, the smoke, and so forth. Guess
Right.
what? You have the power, and you, Karen, you are here to provide us with that opportunity
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
access that power through this process. I want to let you know once again. ThinkTheta.com. That's the website. Karen Abrams, my guest, and you are listening to Tell Me Your Story. Well, I want to thank you all for staying with us here on Tell Me Your Story. Absolutely, with Karen Abrams, who a master theta teacher, coach. How do you want to put that?
Healer. Yeah.
Healer,
Master
theta
theta healer.
healer.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
How long have you been doing this?
22 years.
Wow, wow, that's pretty good.
I've
Why?
been
Why?
dressing longer and eating longer than that. I don't know if I've been doing anything much longer than that in a
Yeah.
row, all those years
Why?
in a
What
row.
what is it about this area? Because I know that there are other
Hmm.
frequencies, alpha,
Yeah.
beta, gamma,
Hmm.
etc., and then theta.
Uh, uh,
I mean, I don't know how many there are, but anyway.
right.
But what brought you to theta healing?
Good question. Really, I really came to it because I was a bystander. I was watching a friend of mine change her whole life. And when you watch that from the sidelines, kind of without any risk, right? You go, whoa. She was someone who had at this point in her life, there were things that were going on for her that were really intense. Her health was something that doctors couldn't help her with. It was too complicated. It was just, it didn't fall into that allopathic way of treating something. She had a long-term relationship that wasn't going where she wanted it to go to. And she had all these anger issues. So she was alienating her clients.
Hmm.
And so her business was floundering. And so I watched her work with Vienna Steibel, who was the founder of Theta Healing. And I watched her change all of these things. She found the right practitioner, her health improved. She found the right practitioners to help her out. She transformed that relationship into a beautiful friendship. A, I mean, a beautiful, supportive. You know, I usually, when you have a big breakup, especially they've been together forever, that you need that like space for a long time. They
Yeah.
just switched and it
Mm.
worked. And And then she got out of her own way. She healed those triggers that were causing her to snap back at her clients and take things out on her clients. And so her business just took off. And
Mm.
so when the money part hit, I thought, whoa, like I loved the other stuff too. That was fantastic. But
Mhm.
when that happened, that was something that I could relate to, which was a struggle that I was going through. And so she hosted Vienna. Vienna had a class in Los Angeles, the basic Theta Healing class. And I took it. And I remember that after I got through that class, I felt grounded and expansive. And I was walking around in my apartment, and I was like, whoa, I felt big and powerful and calm. And I had had anxiety for about 6 years at that point in time. I'd been with a therapist for a year and a half, and I still we did amazing work together. He's an incredible therapist, and there was this chunk I couldn't get at that we couldn't get at, and I just remember trying to figure out what do we need to do to get that thing. And this work, I realized in that moment of all that peace and all that calm, that my anxiety was gone. And when I realized that, that was usually what would happen. It would shoot back in, and my heart would start beating out of my chest again. My hands would start shaking, because that's what happened all day long for 6 years.
Mm.
And so in that moment, it didn't switch back. So it was the first time in 6 years that my body had been out of fight or flight. And that blew me away. It didn't come back until I had 3 weeks of completely no symptoms. When it came back, it was so much lower than it was before. And I had already signed up for every theta practice class I could take. I was signing up for the advanced course and all these other courses, so that I just was able to chip away what was left, whatever those issues were that were underneath it, that all that compressed emotion is what I think it is, which
Mhm.
I believe it is. And so that level just kept going down and down and down. So one day I just didn't notice it. And it was off the list. And
Mm.
I just started moving forward with other things. And I think that when you can marry this access to your subconscious mind with this divine loving energy, I call it divine loving energy. You could call it just that loving energy from your inner wisdom, whatever
Mhm.
works for you, that universal energy.
Yeah.
That's a plus. That's a big, powerful thing that's going on.
Well,
And so it just reaches those places that you can't get just from talking to somebody. You can't get from even the best advice on the planet. Things have to shift on that subterranean level underneath the ground before they're able to come up into your life. And so that's where we start, and that's where we go.
just a reminder that Karen is inviting you to a free 45-minute preview of her 4-week course, Your Future Self Now. And it's Wednesday, the 29th of January. So if you're listening after, there may be other ways of accessing the information or touching base with Karen. Wednesday, January 29th, noon Pacific time, 12 noon on Zoom. How do they go about getting that link to this a special event?
Well, I'm going to give you the link so you'll have it, so people can click on that to go there. They can also sign into if they go to thinktheta.com, they can get on my email list, and there'll be emails that are going out. So with links to register, so you can register the way,
All
and
right.
it's free. So whatever,
Sure.
there's no harm, no foul.
Right. And you can
You
register by
really get a
going,
chance to try it on.
there you go. You can go
Yes.
register by going to thinktheta.com slash your future self PRE. Now, it's your hyphen future hyphen self hyphen pre or PRE. So we'll give that out again as we continue, and I will make this the link to the podcast and video cast as well, and that regard. But you can always go to thinktheta.com just to find out more about the work that she is doing. We hope that you will do just that and continue listening as we continue talking here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, and we're here with Karen Abrams. We're talking about this special event that's coming up on Wednesday, the 29th of January. And I have to tell you, Karen, that it's driving me, and I'm sure other people, absolutely bonkers. We just celebrated Easter 2022, and it's already January 2026, 7, 8, 9, 2025. We're halfway through this decade of
I
perfect
know.
vision. I want to ask you in that regards, because we
Yeah.
promote the decade of perfect vision every single week,
Hmm.
about our intuition and encouraging people to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm space during the decade of perfect vision, to listen to that still small voice and hopefully follow the promptings. It doesn't do any good to listen if you're not going to follow the promptings. You do have to
Right.
develop a level of trust. I know I had to go through that. And I share the story of bicycling to work one day, and the path went through farm fields, and they were 1 mile square farm fields. And I was told to turn
Mm.
right and go north a mile, and then eat west a mile, and then south a mile back to the road I was originally on. Well, I went past that intersection for about a half a mile, and the prompting would not go away. Now, I still had the choice. Okay. I always had choice. But there was something about the insistence of that prompting. I turned around and then I did the north and west and south and back to the road that I was on. I conclude that all that was being done was the question that was being asked by my, if you will, still small voice. And that was, do you really trust me? Seriously, do you really? How much do you trust me? And that's really what it came
Mm.
down to for me. It wasn't like a lot of times, we'll get those promptings to turn left, turn right, go this way, go that way, do this, do that. And it maybe saves us from maybe an accident, maybe
Right.
something that
Hmm.
could have been a lot worse than it was going to be, but not in this case. And I've
Mm.
had those worst case scenario kinds of things happen where I am so glad I listened and followed, because a few days later it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, life would be a whole lot worse right now if I hadn't followed the promptings. How does that play into Think Theta and the Theta healing process?
Well, that's one of the big goals of you of mine, my dastardly secret goals and plans for everyone is the
I like that.
the best way to improve your life is to improve your relationship with yourself,
Mm,
right? And so many of us, because between that time when you're born and you're 7 years old, your brain waves are always in theta. And so whatever is said to you, done to you, whatever you experience, you think you caused it, right? And so whatever mistreatment, whatever lovely treatment, all of it, you think you caused it. So everything gets really deep. That's why our childhood is so impactful for us,
mm,
because it went totally subconscious. Everything that happened, everything that people said to you, and became your belief systems. So it's easy to lose trust in yourself if somebody didn't have, they mentored to you and modeled that they didn't trust themselves. Maybe there was, there's always that undercurrent for women, like, oh, don't trust it. You can have intuition, but don't trust it, don't follow it, right? And that men are taught and rewarded more for trusting their gut. It doesn't mean that there aren't people around trying to erode that trust or do anything like that. It's just a different way that they mess with men than they mess with women.
mm.
And so it's easy to lose faith in yourself just because you saw it, or things happen and you're like, well, I couldn't stop my parents from getting divorced, so I'm probably not that powerful, or things like that. Or, I see how my parents, argue about money all the time. I guess money's a really scary thing. Don't want any of that, you know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's our little nascent brain going, oh, this is, we're trying to figure out how the world works. And so that implicit trust, sometimes, I mean, we're born with it, and then sometimes it gets, messed with because of the family that we're born into, and the people that are around us. And some people, it just is there and it's always there and they instill it, it just depends how is that curated in your life. And then at some point in time, it's up to you to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's up to you to come back. And that's why this work is so so amazing, because I always say it's like the lightest way of letting go of the heaviest things and bringing in some of the most powerful things that can move you forward in your life. And one of that is that self-trust, that faith in yourself, faith in the universe. And I don't talk about faith in the universe like, you know, running across the freeway blindfolded. I don't think that's faith.
No, 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 no. No,
But
sorry.
right. Right. So, but I believe that faith is a process that you have with the universe, that you're contributing something, and the universe is going to reflect back what you're contributing. So if it's not going the way that you want to, it's really the way to look within and see how you can shift that stuff. And I'm not saying that means that everything is your fault and, you know, all of that sort of thing. And I know that self-help tends to can point that finger. It's not about that. It's like what we're emanating is just coming back at us. So it's a
Yeah.
benevolent universe. But if you're only emanating worry and fear, the universe goes, oh, they want more worry and fear. And that's why gratitude is so, right? That's why gratitude is so powerful, because the more grateful you feel, not that you think, but
Right.
that you feel, right? You emanate, the universe keeps bringing in more things to feel grateful for.
Yeah.
And they keep coming in, and the more you acknowledge them, they keep coming in. And so it's
Yeah.
the same thing with that trust.
Yeah. I shared with you the story of my sojourn on this day that we are conversing. And there's a part of me that wants to play the victim. Oh,
Uh-huh.
this person did this to me, screwed up
Mm-hmm.
my whole afternoon, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I actually was sharing this with my wife, and she says, "Well, it's okay sometimes to play the victim." And I said, "No, actually, it's
Mm-hmm.
not. It really isn't." And at the same time, I am grateful for the relationship with this person who, quote unquote, screwed up my whole afternoon, because I received a phone call from an associate who is extremely excited and energetic. And we're just talking on the phone. And we are going to have a Zoom conversation in the next few days to see what she would like to do. And I'm sitting here going, okay, yeah, today it wasn't perfect, or it
Right.
didn't
Yeah.
quite flow the way I wanted it to. Remember, we make plans and the creator laughs, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And I was safe the whole time. I never put myself in
Yeah.
jeopardy by trying to rush here and there because, there were things I forgot. I forgot to do.
Uh,
I forgot to pick up. I forgot that. And you know what? Okay, so be it. Life goes on. It's not over, and there's still an opportunity here. So who knows? Maybe this person who referred the second person to me, this very energetic individual, maybe that was the plan all along, that, okay, this person wasn't going to be part of my world, but only for a month or two or three. I was kind, I was considerate, I was helpful as much as I served the very best I could. And certainly it didn't go the way that you'd like to, think that it would go. But then
uh,
again, it's one of those things where there's a difference between anticipation and expectation.
uh,
And I'm wondering if within your training, within your healing practice with Theta Healing, if there's a part of a part of the teaching that talks about that it's okay to anticipate that which you desire,
mm-hmm.
but don't have any expectations of how it's going to look.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ask the universe, give me a picture. I'm not going to create it
Right.
in my mind. Give me a picture of what it might look like. Is
Uh-huh.
that part of the process or part of your process at all?
In a way, I understand what you're saying. I think I think that's part of having faith, of that
Okay.
if you believe that things are going to turn out the way they should, as per your energy and action and involvement in it, then to be open to whatever that looks like is definitely important. Because if we excuse me, if we have only one view of it, we try to control it too much, then whatever else the universe wants to give us, it can't give us, right?
Right,
I can
right.
only make money this way. right? I wonder
Yep.
where this is, I
Mm-hmm.
always wanted this. And you're like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but you won the lottery. I don't want that, right?
Yeah, really.
You're like, it doesn't mean anything, right? So we have those places inside of us where we just want to control. We might be totally friendly and wonderful with everyone, but there's you inside your head, you're like, it has to happen right in this spot.
Yeah.
And so when you come out of that and just go, what if, right? Let's put it here. I'm going to put this out this way
Mm.
and we'll see. Maybe I'm a singer and I want to perform, but I want to get, it's only the Troubadour. I want to get discovered at the Troubadour. That's such a great place. It's got historic stuff there. Elton John,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's been there,
Yeah, yeah,
I want it, right? You're like, well, what if you're in a bookstore? Why not be open to having it at a bookstore? Why not having, you never know. I just met somebody at a party when I went, oh my God, I totally love what you do. That's so cool. I want to hear more about, like, you're like, wow, like this is a whole other avenue I didn't even think about, like I'd love to talk to you about that. If I just said it has to come from somebody through a referral and this way,
yeah,
it's definitely, you have to just open up to that receiving,
yeah.
you don't know how it's going to happen.
What's interesting is a book I've talked about this book for the last couple of months. I first read it, and I say read it. It was on cassette tape, and I still
uh,
have that. I still have the series. All right, I've
that's
got it right
awesome.
here.
That's
I would
awesome.
show it, but it tends to disappear on my camera.
Right. Yeah.
But the
Uh-huh.
book is called The Goal.
Okay.
The author's last name is Goldratt,
Okay.
Goldrattt.
Uh-huh.
And without going into detail, the main message that I took away from it, and I listened to it again just recently, which
Mhm.
lit a fire under me back in October. I the message that I took away from it was just because we've always done it this way,
Mhm.
does that mean
Mhm.
we always have to do it that way, or
Right.
are there other ways? Which actually springs to one of the phrases I use on this program. We are looking for those new ways of living because the old ways don't work. All you have to do is look around you.
Mhm.
They're not working. And
Mhm.
without going into too much detail here, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and he's a very good friend of mine.
Right.
We're sort of on different sides of the political spectrum.
Mhm.
And we were discussing this whole aspect of what's going on with, again, I'm not going to go into the politics of this, but of the conversation
Mhm.
regarding tariffs and companies around the world who want to import their products here in the United States. And I said, why is it that we have to use antagonism and leverage to encourage people to come to the United States to build and to make their particular product or provide their particular service? Why do we have to threaten them with tariffs? Why don't we just say, hey, look, we would love for you to come here to build your product, and if you do, we'll cut you a great deal, on
Right.
taxes or whatever it
Right.
is. Now, there is a wonderful incentive to
Right.
encourage somebody but if you say, we're going to impose, a 50% tariff on your products, which by the way, we, the consumer, will pay. But
Right.
we're going to impose a 50% tariff on your product when it's imported. Um, so why don't you come to the United States and build your factories here and make your product here? Why do you have to throw
Right.
that first part in? And so it goes back to
Right.
just because we've always done it this way, does that
Right.
mean we always have to? And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, what happened with diplomacy and cooperation and those kinds of things? And again,
Right.
I'm not going down that road that we could go down.
Right.
It's not
Right.
productive. Okay, that's the other
Uh-huh.
thing too. It's just not productive. But we could do so many other great things if we would just stop and say, what is it that we really, really want?
Right.
Because I
Mhm.
don't think what we really, as a people or even as a
Mhm.
nation, I don't think we really want to go hammer and tong, you know, against other places. We'd like to work in a cooperative, more cohesive world.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we have a
absolutely.
problem from this standpoint that it seems like it's human nature to want the drama, to want the frustration, to want
Mm,
the antagonism. It's like, I know there are people, they live on that stuff.
right.
I don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't even want to watch it on TV, in movies and television. Okay.
Uh, uh,
How does theta healing help us to, shall we say, overcome, or better word, because it's used, you use this, transform from that to the other?
well, that's a really great question. And I think that when you have an antagonistic way of moving through the world, and it's all about conquering and it's all about, fighting and coming up against a force, right? You're
Yeah.
always coming up against a force that in some ways these are people who have in a different way they've experienced something where they were the other side of it, right? They were the ones who got abused, they were the ones who were ignored, they were the ones who
Yeah.
were neglected. And there's kind of two ways, or a few ways, but one of the ways to express that would be to go inward and say, wow, and kind of back off of confrontation. And the other one is, no, I'm ready, right?
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. I'm gonna do that. And somewhere in the middle is wonderful, right? Where you're like, you
Yeah.
know what? I've got good, healthy boundaries, and you shouldn't treat me that way, and I deserve better, and I'm going to go get better. So if you want to be this way, you be this way, and you go. Um, but that kind of conquering energy
Yeah.
is, there's never enough. It's another version of there's never enough, right? And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I've got to consume as much as possible, and I have to be top dog. I have to, the only way to do it is to be at the top of the pile, and that's like that survival, that's survivaling, it's kind of survivaling, really. I was going to say survivalistic,
Yeah.
but in that way of we need to, get as much as we can, and we need to dominate as much as we can to feel
Yeah.
ourselves, to feel
Yeah.
power, instead of just knowing that you have it. And look, countries, when you're dealing with a whole country versus a human being,
Hmm.
that is definitely very different.
Sure.
But like you said, there are ways that countries can have personal relationships with each other, and invite in and incentivize in ways that are healthier. And so we'll see how that all plays out. But that's a program. So when if you do that on that personal level, and you don't want to be like my friend, when she was dealing with, everything was triggering her when people would say whatever they would say. And I know she came from like this very emotionally dramatic and abusive family,
Yeah.
where the mother was getting, kind of freak out over everything, and then start yelling and doing all these sorts of things. And so then everyone's like, oh, we got to figure this out. And so there was tons and tons of anger when someone was acting helpless, or was somebody trying to tell you what to do, those sorts of things. And so you start protecting yourself in your own armor. And this is a
Yeah.
lot of armor, right? It's a lot of like, don't tell me what to do, I'm going to tell you what to do. That's the way it's going to go. There's only two
Hmm.
ways,
Hmm.
right? And it's like, no, you can compromise, we can all figure this out, and there can be a win-win. but
Yeah.
but people who've experienced it and have a certain bent, then they just want that win-lose, and they just want to be the winner.
Don't get me wrong, I have my moments of resistance,
Of course, everybody does.
but I also, for example, in the phone conversation I had with this person,
uh
um, I wanted to say some things. They were way back. They were way back in the back of my mind. Don't, okay, they were way back there.
Right,
I
yeah.
wanted to say some things, and I chose not to, and I really think I was led not to. And the things
Right,
that I
yeah.
did say continued to encourage, continued to support, until I realized that I'm wasting my breath, I'm wasting her time, and I just need to wish her well, as you kind of alluded
Right,
to.
yeah.
Wish her well and good luck to you. May you succeed, because that was my goal in the first place. I wanted you
Right.
to succeed, and I even used that phrase with her. I said, "I'm not here to succeed. I'm here to make you succeed." And
uh
in turn, I succeed. But I don't think I think that I did succeed because I did put my whole self into the process and into the projects that we worked on. And I can walk away from it and I feel good. I feel what we
Yeah.
produced, what was created was really, really good. Another thing that's
Mhm.
created here is Tell Me Your Story. We're talking with Karen Abrams. We got a special event we're going to tell you about here in just a moment as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host here on Tell Me Your Story. We're going to talk about this very special event that's coming up on the 29th as this conversation is unfolding. And of course, if you are listening to this after the event, well, okay, you can always go to thinktheta.com. It almost sounds like a lisp. Thinktheta.com. A little bit. And I'm not being
A whole
critical of people. Yeah, I don't be
fair.
critical of anybody that has a lisp, but anyway. And you can join Karen Abrams for a free transformative experience. And basically, you may remember that Master Theta Healer Karen Abrams, our inspired guest, who introduced us to the power of Theta Healing. It's a technique that helps you rewrite limited beliefs and release trapped emotions so that you can create the life you truly desire. We talk about this on the program all the time about giving people choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And Karen is inviting you to a free 45-minute preview of her 4-week course, Your Future Self. When? Now. Your Future Self now. It's happening Wednesday, January 19th, 12 noon
No,
Pacific time.
29th, 29th.
I beg your pardon. It's the 29th. It's only a few days away.
Yeah.
Wednesday, January 29th at 12 noon. Thank you for correcting me on that. It's on Zoom, and I'll give you the link in just a moment so you can go and register. Now, during this session, you'll discover how to become more self-confident and unshakable in any situation. Boy, we could use that for sure.
Hmm.
Foster deeper trust in yourself and life as you align with your future potential and enhance your sense of security and open the door to more joy and freedom. So don't miss this powerful opportunity to start creating the life you deserve. So I'll give you the website address. It is thinktheta.com/your hyphen future hyphen self hyphen pre. So we'll be linked to that. It'll be on this particular interview's link on SoundCloud and YouTube. So you will be able to check it out. And folks, you can go to thinktheta.com. She's got all kinds of material. You have a book out too, right?
I have a book that I collaborated on. I wrote a chapter for,
Okay.
and that was all about, this is all about, sorry,
That's all
I
right.
was
That's
in
all right.
thinking about the question. Um, it was all about researching money issues that
Yeah.
I had and going back into, I called it playing the money card.
Yeah.
Thinking, got my brain working on that in a second. I was so thinking about this thing. I'm like, wait, what? What? There's other things.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a great story. And it's all about going back, looking at the money issues that I struggled with and where did they come from in my ancestral line. And so I went back and looked in my
Mm.
history to find them, but not only to find those, it was also about finding those places that really empowered me. And because I had grandparents and great grandparents who, all the family got together and put all their money in one big pile. And so everybody because everybody was participating in, the growth of the family, coming up from, Romania and coming to America and
Mm.
escaping the pogroms, the anti-Semitic riots that were going on
Oh.
in Eastern Europe back then. So they could only come with their suitcases, right? We're coming back to being, exiled and banished or evacuating, and just bringing what you have and bringing your knowledge with you and just watching what they did and how they built that and how did that affect me in my life, both consciously and unconsciously.
Mm.
And even going into what I went through as a child when my parents got divorced and my dad want to pay child support. And that was a lot of things we didn't understand back then, which was depression. And
Mm,
we didn't understand what he was going through at all. And because he didn't want the divorce. So he was so angry with my mom. And this is how he was taking it out on her. But we didn't know that. We were just like, why aren't you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Right. So that became a
yeah.
place for me, because my mom had to take him to court so many times, that was conflict and discomfort and pain, and it was associated with money. So I'm like, oh, I don't want any details about that stuff. Let's leave that over there. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And money
Yeah.
was kind of the secret. Like, my grandparents were wealthy, but how did they get it? Like when you went into somebody's house, oh, how much did this cost? Can't ask anybody what they did. It was all this kind of weird, what you can and you can't talk about. And so it gave me this very disjointed way of looking at money that really put me back into a corner, and got me into some serious debt by the time I was 30. So
Mm,
it took a while to get out of it. I did get out of it, but it took me a while, and it was really this work that saved me and really got me
yeah.
there.
It's interesting too because I have been struggling myself pretty much my whole life. Uh, and I've shared this before. I was a paper boy from eighth grade,
Uh-huh.
from the age of 12, basically. And the first year that I was a paper boy, after I forget how many months it was, I was fired
Mm.
for mismanagement of funds
Uh,
because I spent more than I was bringing in, and I couldn't pay my
oh.
paper bill and so forth.
Uh,
Well, then they rehired me not long after, and I did not make that same mistake, but it was still, riding the line, you know what I'm saying? And I still play that stupid game,
mm-hmm.
and yet I've also acknowledged that I have taken advantage of the existing rules of finance,
Mm,
okay? And I did it twice.
mm-hmm.
And I came to a place where I could have done it for a third time several years ago. And I looked back at my past. I looked back at my history and I'm going, okay, you did it the first time. And then less than 10 years later, you're right back and you did it a second time.
Right.
And you went just about 10 years. And guess where you are? You're right back where you started,
Mm-hmm.
which means it didn't help.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't solve anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to make a different choice, which is
Right.
part of my
Mm-hmm.
book, Choices, 5 Steps for
Uh-huh.
Life. And I made a different choice. And I've been making different choices ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And it's helped. It hasn't taken me where I want, but I have told the universe, hey, I am content and I want more. And I want to
Uh-huh.
start with $100,000.
Uh-huh.
Now, whether that comes from one individual or it comes from 1,000 people with $100, or however
Right.
that mathematically works out, I have no expectations. Anticipation, you betcha. I can hardly wait.
Uh-huh.
But I also hear the teaching that you have to believe that you already have it. You have to feel that you already
Mm-hmm.
have it. I mean, that's kind of what's taught.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then there's the law of attraction. And
Uh-huh.
I heard an interesting spin on it just recently with another guest. And
Mm-hmm.
they said, well, it's good, the whole concept of law of attraction from The Secret, but they have it backwards.
Mm-hmm.
You do not draw to you those things that you say you want. That
Mm-hmm.
isn't how the universe works. You are drawn to those things that you want,
Mm-hmm.
which means you have to put one foot in front of the other. You cannot sit. I used to think about this in
Right.
terms of when I was working for the Christian station. I used the analogy there are two rooms and there's a door between the two rooms and it's closed. And you are in one room sitting in a chair and you are saying, I just want to do God's will. I just want to do this, that, I want this, that. And you are waiting for God to give it to you. But it
Right.
doesn't work
Right.
that
Right.
way.
Right.
You
Right.
have to get up out of that chair. You have to go over to
Yeah.
that door. You have to turn the
Mm-hmm.
knob or the latch or whatever and open that door and walk through it.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't given to you.
Right.
Um, so I'm wondering, I mean, because we're talking here about finance and money and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a big issue for a lot of people. And here's the interesting thing that I observed not not that long ago, where they were always talking about how, at first, inflation, it's this and it's that and it's the other, and the prices they're going
Hmm.
up and da 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 da.
Right.
And then as we turned the corner, came through 2024, spring, summer, into fall, according to the numbers, the statistics, the actual, we'll call them the facts, inflation was going down, which
Hmm.
meant that the prices should be going down. In other words, that our economy, if it is that important, was actually getting better.
Right.
However, when they would survey the public wasn't buying
Uh-huh.
the statistics. You couldn't argue with them because you couldn't argue with the statistics because they were the numbers.
Right.
Okay.
Because of the right, because the price in the grocery store was still
Yeah.
high. Yeah.
So, and my wife and I actually, she kind of inculcated this into my mind. Like, for example, whatever the price of gas is wherever you live, it
Right.
is what it
Hmm.
is. You either pay it or you don't, but you don't complain.
Uh,
All right.
uh,
You make a choice. You either pay
hmm.
that price, whatever it is, and it's the same thing as we go through our lives. If there's
Hmm.
something that you want, you either pay the price, you give up this for that, or what have you, or you don't. It's that simple. No emotion required. You either do it or you don't. You know. And I thought about that, and I'm thinking, why is it that people aren't listening? It's like because we don't have trust anymore in our institutions. And
Hmm.
maybe it is because we've been lied to. I don't know. Because I don't know. I'm not sure
Right.
what the truth is anymore. All I know is what I know. All I know is what I see, what I experience. Is that something that we need to start to understand? Not that we need to start trusting our institutions. No, this is where our intuition comes in. That we need to start trusting ourselves.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I
Is-
mean, look, we're in this really sort of unprecedented time where there's so much misinformation that's out there, and that we've got to figure out what's what and who do we trust, and who's going to be the purveyor of the information that we're going to
but
believe
we
in,
can
right?
but we can
Yeah.
vet it or parse it
Right. You
from
can feel it
inside,
inside
right?
your right, exactly. You
Yeah.
you you want to be able to do that. Look, there's certain things we won't know, like did this guy do that to who, and all that sort of stuff. We're not going to
And,
know.
and it doesn't matter. I mean, reality
Right.
being, it doesn't matter whether we knew or not. How does that change our lives? But go ahead.
Yeah. So I just think that it's the more we get to that space of really trusting ourselves and trusting our instincts, trusting our gut, that we're going to know about that person in front of you, whether there's trustworthy or they're not, whether you can trust the idea that you have to help you move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that is due to really helping and healing the stuff that you've been that emotional baggage that you've been carrying around for maybe generations. Who knows how long it's been there?
Yeah.
And because those are the things that are creating the weight around your ankles, right? You just can't, they
Oh,
hinder your movement.
yeah.
And and this work really goes in there and helps you scoop that out and really understand that you don't just take something out and leave space. You change something and transform it into unconditional love and understanding and compassion,
Yeah.
so that you can really learn something and become wiser for
Yeah.
what happened to you.
Yep.
I it doesn't, some people have really tough lives, and I've met so many people that have been so impressed with so many people that I know, that they're remarkable human beings, and they've been through a lot, and been through people who,
Hmm.
in situations where people didn't want them to thrive ever,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And yet they did, and they have a loving marriage, they have a great family, they have remarkable friends, and they're just a good person. And so I still believe that like doing this work is a way um, to lift out that other stuff, and still have discernment to know who's in front of you, because just becoming blanket trusting with everybody is just being naive. We don't, it's not the point of this. The point is, if you heal the betrayals that you've experienced and the abuse and the trauma and whatever, and like I said, in this really light and beautiful way of like, this is energy that just needs to shift in your body, and shift, and as you let it go and get something even better back,
Yeah.
that you're just going to feel so much more empowered to go, oh, I can reach for that. Oh, I can do that. Whatever's going on in this world right now. And there's so many people who want to shift that. that feeling of not being able to trust anything. And there's certainly people who are benefiting from us doubting things too.
Sure.
But it's we still have the same goals, right? Whether whoever, is if you love the president or you don't love the president,
Yeah.
you love this, these people you don't, you still have the same goals. You still want, and I will say this, I'll take a wild guess that most people out there want a fulfilling life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll take a wild guess that most people want to be happy. And I'll take a wild guess that most people want to be financially secure.
Mm-hmm.
And so we still have, and we want our dreams to come true. And even if our dreams morph into other things that'll bring us what we want, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think the way we get there is knowing ourselves and healing with things like this, so that you can go out and take that beauty out on other people, and take that compassion out on other people, and that good fortune out on other people. Because even in this time where we're highlighting the meanness in people and highlighting the violence and the differences between us, really, when you talk to people, people are still really good, and people still want to help out. And I've been going through this LA fire thing, to say the least, and how many people want to help? Who I've had people call me who I haven't talked to in 10 years or more, and said, "Oh my God, I was thinking about you. I just wanted you to know. I hope you're doing okay." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's so incredible. Thank you so much." It felt so good to hear from people that they were thinking about me. And it was the same thing when there was other people that I was reaching out to, like, "Oh my God, I know you live in that town. How are you doing? I'm thinking about you." And everyone just connecting and trying to, be there for each other in the way that we can. So and people who weren't affected at all, volunteering. We have so many people who are volunteering that there's places where they're turning them away, and there's so much clothes, and people are donating so many things. I had a friend, very close friend of the family, they had to leave. They were in the Palisades, and luckily they had a place to stay. And there's a company, athletic clothing company, that said, "You just call us," or I don't know if it's go online, what it is, or "You just call us and tell us your sizes. We're going to give you a bag full of clothing."
Yeah.
High-end athleisure.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "Take it, go."
Yeah.
And there's some hotels that are saying, "You can stay here for a week, you can stay here for 2 weeks, for free or for barely any money." There's people in Airbnb who are going, "You can have my place for barely anything, just come stay, or if you need a few days, stay."
Mm-hmm.
And I had another woman I knew had like 3 or 4 properties, and she's like, "If you know someone who needs somewhere to stay, let me know, I'll set them up there."
Yeah.
And that was one of the places we were going to go to at the first evacuation call. And so there's so much compassion, and there's so much giving out there. And when we focus on that too, that grows, right? Whatever we focus on grows, and it shows up in our life. And when you see this kind of incredible behavior from people, like just from their heart, they're coming from their heart, and they really want to help as many people as they can. It's like, yay, thank you, you know?
Yeah. It again, it goes to prove that there are still kind people. There is still kindness within the human heart, regardless of your economic status, your political position, your religious
Right,
affiliations, whatever category you want to put there. People come out of the woodwork. Now, it's sad that it happens during these kinds of
right,
catastrophes, if you will. But hey, better that it comes out, period,
right,
than
right.
not at all. And it's a wonderful thing. Another wonderful thing is that you are listening to Karen Abrams. She is a Theta healer, master Theta healer, and you are listening to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and are you ready to transcend uncertainty that you have been experiencing and make 2025 your most powerful year yet? Well, you can join Karen Abrams, Master Theta Healer, for a free 45-minute group healing. Now, your future self now, it's Wednesday, January 29th. 12 noon Pacific time via Zoom. I'll give you the Zoom link in a moment. And in this powerful session, you will harness the energy of your future self to build, unshakable self-confidence, align with your future potential, create joy, freedom, and security no matter what's happening in the world around you. But let me tell you something, you have got to disconnect from the rest of the world because it's not doing any of us any good. This is a chance to begin your journey towards a life of greater ease and fulfillment, paving the way for a 2025 full of hope, growth, and new possibilities. So go to thinktheta.com/ your hyphen future hyphen self hyphen PRE. That is the website will be linked to on SoundCloud and YouTube. We hope that you will take the time to participate in this particular event, and it goes on from there. So you'll be able to find out more, I'm sure. And of course, they can register, if not just for the 29th, January 29th event. I would take it they would also be able to register at for the 4 week course. Is that correct?
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
that
So
starts the following week. So yeah, you'll have
yeah,
a chance if you don't see it, the replay will come up that
yeah.
night. So it'll be available for you to see it, and then you can make a decision if you want to keep and dive in
Yeah.
deeper with me with this because it's going to be fun. It's going to
And
be
I
really
might
fun.
have to do just that because I will
Yeah.
probably be in an interview with someone at noon on that Wednesday. But that's all right because, as you just said, I can pick up the 45-minute video online afterwards, and that'll be fun as well. Um, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the program, sharing this event that's coming up on the 29th. And I hope that a lot of folks will sign up and connect with you and find out more about Theta Healing through you, a master Theta Healer. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful thing. And I will always come back. This is wonderful. Thank you so much,
I'm
Richard.
going to
I
have you
love
back on a
love
regular
being
basis.
here.
Going to have you back on a regular basis, okay?
I'm
We're,
here.
we're
I'm
going
all
to do
ready.
that. Um, Even though you've been on twice and I've asked you these questions before, I'm going to ask you again those three questions that I ask all of my guests because you know what? Sometimes the answers change
Uh-huh.
because we're changing. We are evolving. You can argue that,
Uh-huh.
but it's a fact that we are changing. Why do we go to school and get educated? So we can evolve intellectually. There you go. First of those three questions, though, is who is Karen Abrams?
Someone who, gosh, every time you ask me this, I go off into space because I'm like, it's such a question. I love myself. I am here to help. And I really feel like those are, I'm learning more and more about how important it is to um, make myself happy and make other people happy.
Hmm.
And that balancing my life out so that I can be in that top spot and still be able to help everyone that I want to help with is very important. And that gets better and better without being selfish. You can make yourself the most important person in your life. And because by taking care of yourself, you are taking care of everybody else
Hmm.
because then you ain't quitting on anybody. So it just energizes you. And so I think when I think of myself now, I just think of um, myself as someone now who's finally giving back to myself in the ways that I've wanted to receive, and it's helping my life get richer and richer. And even when things are rough and things are going kind of kaflooey in the world, it helps me come back to center
Hmm.
and go from there.
Wonderful. What gets you up in the morning?
What gets me up in the morning? Feeding my cat now. I have a cat. And she will let you know.
Oh, I know
She will
about that.
let you know
Hmm.
that she is hungry and it's been way too long. Do you see
Uh-oh.
what time it is, right? Um, so so I would say love gets me out of bed because she's the cutest thing ever and she's the newest member of the family, so she gets a lot of attention.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, we have three new ones as well.
Oh,
They
amazing.
were, according to the paperwork, born in September, and they're all three brothers and sisters,
Oh, wonderful. That's
and
really cute.
they're all black except for Edgar. He has
Oh,
he has white little paws.
so
Little.
you always
I
know
was
who
going to
he
call him
is.
socks, but Edgar seems to work really well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I know the feeling. I hear them when they're ready to eat. They let you know. They let you. And the final question: what was your best day?
What was my best day? There's a lot of them that compete. So I still think one of my best days was having my child.
Hmm.
I would say that the moment that she was actually born
Hmm.
was, so I'm going to go with that today.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining us here on the program, and we will have you back. I'm thinking
Absolutely.
maybe once or twice a month to talk about this, and of course, any other events that you have coming up, we will certainly would like to promote them for you. So look forward to talking with you again, and I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story: New Paradigms for a New World, where we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, video cast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Mike, you left too soon. To my best friend Doug, I will see you on the other side. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.